Let's pick this up again. I'm not sure why my camera turned off, but you have the usual 6 dials here. Here it goes to 1, 1 goes to 2, 2 goes to 3. I'm assuming that's 3, right? Yeah. 3, 4, 5, 6. So it is in that. And of course, you've always got to tune any instrument you have in order. So you always got to tune 1 first, 2 the second. So you got to know where the dials are and you got to know how they work. If you don't know that because they're not marked, it's similar to what we have a problem with this. Well, this is a nice unit. None of the dials are marked. So again, everybody assumes that it's left to right, top is 1, over to 3, and then 4 across, which of course is right, but that's not the way to make a tunable unit. You should know what dial you're on when you're dialing it. So again, all this electronics you see in here, this connected to a battery, which is going to here. Yeah, that's going to the GSR meter for some reason. I'm not sure why they didn't use the main electricity to do that, why it's separate. Don't quite understand that. That's kind of strange manufacture. And here's, of course, a potentiometer to adjust the GSR meter. And here's the pacer over here that's on. The pacer goes where? Yeah, this is the pacer electronic circuit here. So this is for the tones that go in your ear to balance your brain so you can tune better. Now, I'm not sure what's wrong with any of this stuff. It's probably something minor, but I have no interest in fixing it. All of that has no value. And again, there's no electricity going to any of this. So the bottom line is these are not being fed with current. We've got a wire here going down to the 6 dial that's coming off of the plate, but none of this is electrified. Here's your 2 witness plates. You got it here and here. The battery, the 9-volt battery goes up in here, clamps. And this, of course, I'm assuming was glued like this, and then you have it here to work. But this is typical of every single unit. Now, everyone from Bruce Copen to anybody else who's made units will all have the tuning capacities, have no electricity going through them, and they're just psychically based. And units like this don't even really mimic a crystal radio because they're just so simple. A little bit, but not. But the bottom line is that's every single circuit, no matter what you've seen it. We showed it with the other one. And if you haven't seen the video for this unit, make sure that you do. And I'll probably a link at the end of this video. You'll have a link to see that. And you'll see the exact same wiring. There is a little variances. This unit, of course, is connected to actually a few crystals, whatever they do. But basically, unless crystals are tuned to a particular frequency, they're worthless. But they're not really doing anything. People have been throwing crystals in, and that goes with the magic-y crystal belief system that's been going on for a long time now, where people think crystals are something special. Now, crystals are nice, and they do use them industrially in now electronics, but they cut the crystal and then they put electricity through it so it vibrates at a particular frequency. So it's quite a bit different than just putting a raw crystal in there. So these units are very typical that you'll run into this type of setup. But as I said, what's different with him is that most people were using potentiometers. But when this was built, you still could get tunable capacitors, and that's what's inside here. Inside here is a tunable capacitor, which is similar to potentiometer, but tunable capacitors is what Hieronymus used and other people used, and I'm not sure they used that because they were better. They used that because that was what was available then. Now, you can get tunable capacitors still in this day and age, and you can get really big ones, etc., that were used in old electronics for very high prices. Do tunable capacitors work any better? Well, it doesn't really seem that that's the case. Regular potentiometers seem to do fine. Some people prefer these, but again, this would take an awful lot of research to figure out if there is some difference between the two. But this is very typical. Let's go in here for a little tighter look. As I said, there's the tunable capacitors. Note that these are raw wires. There is no electricity going through this at all. Your components here are for the galvanic skin response, and this is for the what they call the pacer unit. And those were popular back then, skin response and what is affecting your body. If you had a really good one, you may be able to use that in regards to getting settings on dials, but I'm not sure that could be clearly understood. What's clearly understood is when you use a pendulum, if you're skilled at it. Again, this is for, as I said, the pacer unit, which is putting tones out. So none of this. We yanked all this out. All you got is this left, and there is no electricity going through any of that. It's your standard non-electric tunable machine based on actually 6 dials. So it's, and a lot of people got into these 5 and 6 dial units because of the fact that they were just easier to tune. When you start getting into 9, 12, and some people have 24, 50, etc., Bruce Copeland loves to put hundreds of dials on his units, and who the heck can tune those? But basically, they're there to make it look fancy so he could sell his machines for $20,000, which is what Bruce Copeland did. He built quality machines in terms of their looks, but internally, there was nothing special there because he didn't know anything about radionics either. He was basically some sort of music teacher or something. He had no background, but he was interested in all the metaphysical areas, wrote a bunch of books, and made some machines that were very expensive, $10,000, $15,000. And to justify that, he would put like 35, 40 dials on it. But the main tuning would always be non-electric like this. He has some dials in his units, Bruce Copeland, that had electricity, I think, that were producing some sort of frequency. The minute you do that, you no longer have a scalar energy unit. Scalar energies, which includes radionics, are non-electromagnetic fields. There's no electromagnetism to it. The minute you put electromagnetism and you're producing what is a measurable frequency, you now have a frequency unit. They're completely different, and they're not the same. Nobody in the, quote, radionic, unquote, manufacturers or those who use machines ever use them with electricity going through them. When you have electricity going through your circuit, whether it's going to plasma balls or you're dialing in basically a measurable Maxwell frequency, what you have is a frequency unit. And a lot of Rife units, people claim they're Rife, use frequencies. And these are regular frequencies. So that's completely different, but Rife didn't really use regular frequencies, and that's another story, but he did use a type of he used plasma energy frequencies, quite different than just getting a frequency generator like a lot of people have done over the years, and then tuning that into something that would then affect you or actually make change in your biophysical to affect the human body, which is what Rife machines did and what Royal Raymond Rife did. So the whole idea is that all of that was part of frequencies and had nothing to do with radionics. Rifes are not radionic machines. Rife are frequency machines, and people have to understand that. And of course, nobody knows any of this. You haven't been taught properly. Of course, you haven't taken the proper courses, or maybe you've even read a book, being how stupid you are. Let me put all my unknown knowledge and all the dumb stuff that I picked up off of the bottoms of my shoes and write it down. This is the kind of stuff you get. Let's computerize it. After all, I'm a computer expert, and we can get a high school gym teacher to help us out. Ooh. So, I mean, those are the type of things you run into. So, I mean, the disinformation, if you want to really learn everything, I have the Great Path course, which has been reduced in price recently. I'll be having a whole series of booklets coming out in the new year. If you really want to learn this from the only expert on the planet of this for over 45 years, the only person I have over 35 books I've written in metaphysics, 5 courses. I had the only radionic store in the history of the planet and have been researching, engineering, engineering and selling manifesting type tools for over 40 years now. Of course, you only know the Stooges because they write books and they're computer experts. Like computerization has anything to do with manifesting. It doesn't. But they think it does. And interesting that this main writer, who's a computer expert, also worked for the intelligence agency and for federal criminal law enforcement. How nice. So the whole idea is this is the kind of bogus type people that we have out there. Or, of course, you can learn from the gym teacher whose father was a horrible racist scumbucket. Yeah, all the good people in the industry. So the whole idea is these are the facts, people, and if you don't wake up and know what's going on, that is for your detriment, not mine. I've already produced everything and can manifest whatever I desire through my technologies. And my new technology coming out is so groundbreaking, it's mind-screwing. But this is the same thing that all these units had. This is, again, a 6-dial, and I'm going to sell this unit. Now, the dialing itself works fine. The meters and everything else don't work from what I can see, and I'm not going to mess with it. But the electricity does go to the unit, and you can see the little light that comes on here. And if we push one of these buttons, and as I said, I have full instructions from the manufacturer on this unit of how it's used. So you're getting it as if you were to get it from that manufacturer yesterday that produced it. The only problem is, and if you're anybody who's into electronics, I'm assuming you can fix these simple circuits. Nothing is broken. I'm not sure why it's not working, but I'm not going to waste my time on stuff that is worthless. Binaural beats, you can get those online, right on YouTube for free to balance your brain. GSR meter, if you want a good GSR meter, you're going to have to go out and buy a good one. This is not a good one. It's not built in there well, so it doesn't have what you need in this day and age. You certainly are other ones you can get out there. But again, binaural beats may help your brain. That may be some validity to that. But, you know, tuning is a skill that takes time. You have to learn how to use pendulums. You have to learn sensitivity. This is important, except thinking that you're going to get tones in your ears, which I think are more distracting. The other thing is that a GSR meter, a lie detector, particularly this type, is not sensitive enough to really get you proper rates. It's just too crude. If you were to get an advanced type unit, it may help you, but we're not really sure. Again, it's very distractive. And you're kind of looking, you know, you change your focus over to what has the meter done instead of sensing the energies. When you use a pendulum, you sense the energies. And of course, you would be holding the pendulum over the plates here. This is the in plate, this is the out plate. You'd be holding it over there. And this is also where you put your picture on, etc. And the instructions go into all this. But again, this is a very rare unit. You're never going to see these. I'm not sure how many they made. They sold a fair amount of different units. This one I've only seen once or twice up for sale. But the nice thing about this is that it only has basically 6 dials. You could use the 6 dial as a regular dial. So you have 6 technically tuning to do. Or you can use the 6 dial as a power dial, which is basically what all that stuff was about. But I mean, all this stuff is pretty arcane and something that really doesn't have much value anymore. It's all very old-fashioned, but you know, for 6 dials, a nice metal cabinet. This is a vintage piece. If you're into radionics, this certainly would be something nice to own, as I've owned it for many years. It's just another example of what's out there. But it's time to let all these guys go. I got a bunch of machines. I'm only working with my super advanced tech that I'm coming out with. But the price difference is quite a bit. My new tech is not inexpensive. It's high tech, it's super advanced, and will cost something like this. In the shape that, I mean, it is brand new. Nothing's really broken, I should say. It is, quote, mint. It just, these don't work. And I'm assuming they can be fixed. But this will be probably sold for about $400. As I said, it does plug into typical US plugs. And we are getting electricity in there, as you can see. So you've got flow in there if you want to spend some time messing with. So as with all of it, check for the link down below. You'll see this and a few other units that I'm selling if you're interested in obtaining it. But it's a great way to get something. I mean, all the stuff you're going to see online is super expensive and complete junk. There's a 12-dial unit being put out by Bozo and his clowns that he wants $1,200 for, that he puts in a $3 Michael's craft box. That's the kind of sophistication you have. And the wiring and everything else of these units are just base garbage. There's nothing there. And you have to be very careful because these people are also mixing in orgonite, a known toxin developed by the evil practitioner Karl Hans Wells, who ran a giant satanic organization for 30 or 40 years. Of course, he died young because orgonite really gave you strength and stuff. A lot of athletes used orgonite just before their death. So the whole idea is that this is what you run into that's out there. So getting a classic unit like this that is made well, and this will last forever. As I said, it's very well made in terms of the important part of it. This in here, you are getting the very rare capacitors, tunable capacitors. You can't even buy these anymore. So you are getting that, and you're getting, that's what Hieronymus used, is capacitors. So this is unique for that, and it's worth a lot because of that. It's also extremely well made. All these solders, solderings together and everything, they're all strong. We've got no loose wires and all that stuff you see from amateurs. Of course, this is about 35 years old, but the point is that all of this stuff, this just came a little bit unglued, but all of the electrical in here is actually still intact and still working. The only thing you really care about is this, and this whole pattern, this whole 6 dials works great, and it's a quick, easy dial that you can use in your life. Well, I need success today, I need some protection. It's a quick, easy dialing that you can use, and again, you can pop one of my, here's a prime example of my firewall of protection. If you're having a rough day, maybe it's a dangerous drive, whatever it may be, you pop that under the machine, you dial your code in here. This goes on the machine, you pop your code in there, and you've got a very strong protective field. So you're never going to find a dial unit that has tunable capacitors. It's very rare and very difficult, and most tunable capacitors are not even made anymore. It's very hard to find them. There are some vintage ones, and these can even run, even ones that, like you're showing here, these can be $75 to $150 each for tunable capacitors, if you can find them at all. So this is, for the time, it was interesting, and the manufacturer, Lord Industry, knew a wee bit of what they were doing, but they were not very advanced like most people. And the construction is pretty good. The internal is fine. I'm not too sure about putting 2 screws like that. There should be 4, but whatever. And of course, they're using stainless steel there. Again, that's not, maybe aluminum even, I'm not sure. Those aren't the best. But I mean, in general, this is a well-made unit. I believe this was about $800 when it was new, about 20, 30 years ago, when this initially came out. So if you're interested, as I said, follow the link down below. If you have any questions, go to that link. Contact me through my website, radionictech.com, and I can answer any questions for you. And do check the other units there. I'm going to be placing a bunch of units up soon that are for sale, and so people can get a lot of these classic units, and they're all going to be at good prices. Now, I also can include, if you want those types of units, amplification. We do have small amplifiers that we can add on for a fairly low fee, and we do have small transmitters that we can add as well, which all units that had, and all works through what is it's scalar Bluetooth. which transfers energy without wires to the different components. Another development that I developed personally. So, I mean, you can add to that. Having a unit that is just working on your psychic powers is not a very strong one. You need to amplify it. It's worth spending a little more to get some amplification. Then you have a really good unit that puts out strong intentions, because they are amplified, particularly through tubes. You've got to amplify through tubes. And of course, we hook up a little transmitter as well. So you're getting all that energy out there, which triples the power of a unit. And you're not just working on the quantum entanglement that these kind of units tend to work on alone, which is extremely weak. But you can overcome that by using powerful tech that I offer. So I hope you enjoyed. Watch for more units to come.